Oh, this song's so good. Oh, oh shit. Fuck, this song's so good. Hold up. Shit. Give me to plug that in. Oh, we dropped. Internet! Curse you! Hold up. Oh shit. You'll find me here. Refresh stream. If you see this. For no delay. Ding dong. Yeah. Okay, I did not mean the diss. That diss. You'll find me here when I'm gone, when I made my surrender from the flame. I'll break my aim. Take, break. I'll take my aim. Oh, where's my food? Oh my god. There we go. Oh shit. Nono's doing giveaway in the Discord. This fucking mod. Yo, By the way, next time you can just post in the giveaway section. I actually build it just for that, but that's fine. Okay. Gathering. Bup, 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 bup. Bup, 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 bup. Okay. Forgot that exists. Yes, I forgot. Goofy. Okay. That cringe. Ah. Oh shit! I forgot the fucking thing. Good combo. That's actually real. That's how raddtrap steers. Live feed of how I drive a car. What's up, Otto and Nono? How you guys doing? And Saints, of course. How you guys doing? What up, what up? Oh, I gotta reset the alert. I fucked up. No, no, no. Oh my god, that's so loud. Sorry. I gotta refresh it. Alright, there we go. We gooch. Oh my god. Now that you mention Nono about a game server, I forget that I think a couple months ago I was planning to make a game server, but I forgot what game was we trying to make. Like it's a brand new game that can have like a lot of people in. For some reason I forgot. What the fuck is this song? Remember, hit me up. Gotcha. Thank you. Gotcha. Mm -mm -mm. Oh my god. Sorry. Alright, this image alone is gonna motivate me to draw today. Because holy shit, it's so good. It runs out in a year. I only need it for 2 months. Now I pay €30 a month for if I only need it for 5-10% of it. Jesus! Why did you pay for 10 for a year though? Did you bought it by accident? Mm-hmm. Didn't read the contract, of course. It sounds like a mistake that I would make. Relatable, relatable. I needed it for a 5M and Minecraft server. Then one day later, people were getting really weird and I decided to close the 5M stuff. What the fuck? Wait, what do you mean? Oh, you make your own 5M server. It's cool. But that's unfortunate that people getting weird about it. What do you mean by Getting really weird though. They're not DDoSing you or anything, right? No DDoS. Okay. Okay, this song is. Oh my god. Uh... Oh Jesus fucking Christ! Hold up, one sec. All right, hold up. My food is here. Give me a sec. Let me just take it real quick. Like 1 minute. Dance in the chat while I'm away. All right, sorry. Back. All right, just here, getting ready for bed. Cold over here. How bad, do you? I mean, how cold? How? Yeah, how cold? Wait, is it generally cold in New Zealand? I guess it's like a little bit more south, right? My geography is really bad. Ayo. Just personal stuff. Was putting so much work into it, and some people don't know. Many people and 10 people community. That I convinced her to plan and sexual harass her when she tried to report it. She just told her the hook is the person who was about to get reported in the same group as the rest. What the fuck? Okay. Yeah, okay, that's actually kind of weird. That's kind of weird. Is it just me or the rest of the world is kind of cold right now? Me in Indonesia, it's kind of like very fucking warm, dude. Like I get it, we don't have a winter, but it's like it's not even cold temperature either. It's like fucking 28 degrees here. Like really fucking warm and sometimes hot. There's just 5% of it. Ugh. Well, that's how it is, I guess. Hmm. It's on the warmer side, but not too hot autumn right now. I see. Oh, 12 degrees. God, okay, that's kind of cold. Anything below 15 or 16 is for me. Not really good with cold weather. This song's a little bit too much. I think enough with prog metal. Chill out with some Zelda. Yeah, I guess for setting up the server, your own server thingy, it's not easy at all, I'm pretty sure. Especially with the moderating part of those people. It's definitely gonna get weird. That's why you need like a moderation team stuff. Mm, yeah, the rest of the mods wear. Oh, what the fuck? No. Okay, let's go. Mm, just get more mods. Lol. What kind of server are you making anyway? Is it like no pixel style? No pixel based, but recorded. I did most of it. Recoded most of it. Hell yeah, dude. Some good shit. That is some good shit. Too bad it doesn't work out, but hey, at least you tried, and that's what counts. I wonder if no pixels moderation people are also active within the gaming part, or were they just like moderating? I'm pretty sure at this point, no pixel management is definitely like a proper full-time job at this point, considering how many server and how many people that they have to manage. They're preparing. I see. There's a lot of drama revolving around them for a while, but I just kind of like, is getting kind of weird. It's like, fortunate. Rebecca, all right. Not quite there. Not quite sure where am I going with this, but I guess we'll just gonna keep putting the lines. See where we landed. Whoa. Oh my god.
Dude, the thing that everybody...
Subscribe now and get your limited edition red merchandise.
There was a TTS overlap. Subscribe now and get your limited edition rad merchandise. That is a fake news. What the fuck, one said? Please do not say that before someone in the chat actually believed it and sub for it. It's not true, unfortunately. But yeah. Yeah, you can just sub for the heck of it. Appreciate it anyway. Thank you, what's it, for the resub of 41 months. What the fuck? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Much love. How you doing, by the way? What's up? What's up? . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Here we go again.
It's true because I said so.
Alright then. Alright, thank you, Obama. Thank you. Looks like Obama doesn't have any more TTS seizures. That's good, that's good. How you guys doing? What's up, Yua? No. How you guys doing? It is Saturday, my dude. It is Saturday. I'm good grinding War Thunder. Oh shit. War Thunder. Grind Venti, please. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why are you guys like this, huh? Why are you guys like this? Why? Oh my god. Bum, 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 bada, 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 bum. Bum, bum. Oh, talking about grindy game. Does any of you guys know when will the Honkai Star Rail game gonna be released? Star Rail? Something like that? I forgot what it's called. Honkai Railstar? The fucking turn-based game that we saw yesterday, sir. That one. Go register. Second what? Oi, what's up, Nim? Nimn. Second beta still, test still, not so soon. Release. Easy. Because we saw the gameplay yesterday, and on the front end part, it looks pretty polished, not gonna lie. It definitely looks pretty polished. Like almost ready kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Arting with you again. Noise. That's what I'm talking about. Still music, yeah. Because I'm trying to draw something a little bit more chill, like so a little bit soft. Do 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 do. Oops. Get the vibes here, Haley. Pogu pogu. We vibing, we vibing. Mm, 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 mm. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, hold up, I got him. There you go. By your own man. Good one. Mm. Oh, I see. Placement. Mm. 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 Mhm. Mm. Mhm. Missed my chance to ban some filthy no maiden tarnish. Jesus Christ, man. Calm down. Don't worry, you'll get your chance to ban again. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be the last one today. Prepare for impact. So what's up, Hadian? Hadian. Hadian? Hadian. Alright. Mm. Comes to think of it, they are like pests. You don't want them, but they live near you, just like ads. I mean, yeah, not wrong technically. Technically, not wrong. Oh my god. Ooh. Ba-da, 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 bam, bam, ba-da-da-da-da. Gosh, music's so chill. Hopefully I don't get sleepy, because we still get some games that we need to do later. Gaming! Hey, stop showing ads, YouTube. I will never buy what you show. You got a YouTube ads on Twitch? No way. That's kind of interesting. What the fuck? Hey. Some guy using their phone to record their shiny cars and telling me how to get rich is dumb. Wait, what the fuck? Are you talking about fucking Tay guy? Fucking knowledge. Oh my god, it's such an old shit, dude. I forgot how what's his saying. But you know what's more important than money? Knowledge. Something like that. And he show off that he have a fucking library in his own garage or some shit. I was like, what the fuck? This is so random. Oh shit, sorry. No idea, a lot of different guy, but same formula. Most of the time, yeah. What are when they gonna show ads about Rad? What do you mean? I don't wanna have an ad about me. Oh, it sucks ass. Especially on Twitch. I'm an advocate of no restrictive. I'm in disruptive ads. Fuck them ads. Mm, mm. Ah shit. Roll layer. Maybe they'll show Rad playing Venti on Genshin. Yeah, it wouldn't be. It would be a fake ad, fake gameplay ad because I don't have Venti. Hey, fuck you. Mm. Fake gameplay ads everywhere anyway. True. Yo, guys! Oh my god! Look, I almost died. Oh my god, that was intense. So dumb. Holy shit. Those ads are the dumbest shit ever. I don't even know why they even tried it to do that. I get it, they're trying to go for kids, but Jesus Christ, man. Oof. Mm -mm. Mm. Da, 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 da. I don't know where I'm going with this. Hmm. Hum. Bum ba bum ba 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 bum ba bum ba. Oh, jeez. Why am I already hungry? Holy shit. Oh, it's already 9:30. Fuck! I did hop on a little bit late. God damn it. I got distracted because I was doing some guitar cover earlier. Which you guys can check out on Twitter and Instagram, by the way. I just finished it like an hour ago, and then I was like, oh shit, I forgot to go live. Just rush and immediately go live. I forgot, haha lol. Get some instant food? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Get some instant food? No, I mean I do have some food ready. I just haven't eaten it. Mm. No, 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 no. Okay. For some reason, I cannot imagine the fucking outfit in my head. The fuck? Ba-da, ba-da, bang, ba-da, bang, ba-da, bang, bang. Bow, bow, bow. Mhm, mhm. Oh, bro. Okay, I just thought of something. Fossa auto bans the malware stuff now again. Wait, which malware? The fucking bots? Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Noisy. Don't click it, chat. Well, yeah, obviously. Don't ban it either. Once in, calm down. I know you're so you. The moment you see by viewers, you almost ban. No, no. Calm down, calm down. It was just an example. Evolution, whoa. Bots are taking away my only job. Oh my god. The modding. No, it's like fucking Elon Musk. He's starting to automate everything. Soon most of the mods gotta be jobless. Monga giga. They're replacing me with bots. Ah, I'm still happy because of the recognition. Okay, you saw my drawing. Ah! Oh my god. It's crazy, chat. It's crazy. Senpai noticed me. Oh my god. I never thought it's gonna be a thing. Intense fanboy screaming. I didn't expect it either, and I that's the first thing I saw in the morning. But I woke up and just like, so I checked my notification to see Okayo. I was like, oh my god, uh, Jesus, I was not ready. Oka, Okane, Okayu. Hmm. There's something off with this drawing, but I can't tell what it is. Fuck. I hate it when that happens. I'm a little. Still have to beat hell mode. Alright. Good luck. I pray for the best RNG. Lurl. Is this gonna be a thing now? Lurl. Okay, maybe let's not draw that. Lurl. Lurl. Lurl means exactly that. Lurl. Fair enough. What's this? Gun guys in 2010, gun guys in 2020. Ooh. Can hit CG, of course. Ooh. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, 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 ba. Hmm. I'm out of hold up. Thinking about what can I do with this outfit. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm. Ba-da-dang. Mm-hmm. 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 Fuck, what's the name of this outfit? I need some reference. Does anyone know what was the name of this specifically, outfit? I just remember in my head, but I don't remember what it's called and shit. I don't know if this is how it actually looks like. Virgin Killer? I don't think so. Virgin Killer is the one is that open on the back. I think. Right? Boom, 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 boom. Oh my god, that song. Ah, ha, ha, ha. It's a throwback. Holy shit. Da-da-da-da-da-da. It's usually two different parts. Yeah, it's the one at the bottom and then the one at the top. Like this one and then this one is different. But like I remember this was like an art thingy thing back then. Keyhole sweater? Oh. Oh, wait. There's a lot of variants of it. Pullover sweater. Pullover sweater. Oh, wait. Oh. Oh, it's actually pretty straightforward. I think I saw that before, but with a zip in the middle, so I can unzip it for reason. No, this one's the pullover one. Just like kind of pull it down. So yeah, like what Kay said, the top part, it's its own thing, and then the bottom part, the torso part, also its own thing. But when you combine it, it creates this open bust. Something like that. But yeah, keyhole sweater basically you can find it. We just keyhole sweater. Nice suit, thank you. Okay, that means okay, shit. I was right. So the pattern for it is a little bit wrong. Try. It we go by the thingy, it should be a little bit lower here. Something like that. Wait. So it kind of goes around. Damn, what the fuck? Like this? Uh, oh. Shit, the reference saved me. Usually is a short jacket on top what makes that open chest feeling. Yeah. Oh. Okay. This could go low. The more you know. Learning about fashion. Fashion. Hi, what's up, Michaela? Not found. Michaela, what's up? How you doing? All right, should be it. So that means this line should be a little bit more straighter down here. Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Dee doot dee doot dee dee doot doot. Bum 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 bum. Da da da. Oh my god, fucking love this song. It. Both the run you did yesterday, fucking amazing. Thank you, thank you. It's fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie, the both drawing from yesterday, it's kind of like that jackpot feeling. It's like for some reason my lines just connects. It's just very smooth. Like art block just disappeared yesterday. It's crazy. It's one of those days. I know, right? Anatomy. Now I kind of want to draw the other guy, the long hair dude, just so I can have like two Tokyo Revenger dude, the duo. Mm-hmm. Shading. Alright, chat, don't stare too long. Calm down. Hmm. Mm. Hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Oops. Oh, are we dropping? Oh yeah, we're dropping. W in the chat. What the fuck? Why are you so fast? The fuck? I just said that. Wait, the delay is not that bad? Oh. Everyone refresh for no delay. Dong. There we go. Why's my internet like this? Just press pause and play. Well, yeah, but refresh is one word. Press pause and play again is like 5 words. You know? Why does my net have to drop right now, though? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, bruh. What? Someone fucking downloading again. Someone's in the apartment downloading their favorite visual novel. It's just released.
Please cut the ringing. It sounds kind of like
Bow_for life. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. How you doing? Landlord started his touring journey again. By the way, for any new viewers, do not be alerted if the stream's buffering here and there. This happens pretty often on my channel. It's just my internet's really poo-poo. So, if the stream suddenly buffers a lot, most likely it's gonna be me. So, yeah. Don't worry. Okay? Like right now. Right now it's a little bit all over the place. Don't panic. It's not you, babe. It's me. Hello. Ah, there's a cute emote. This pasta is too good. It's a pastry. Alright, right now it should be good. Right now it's on yellow greenish. So that means it's not buffering anymore, but the quality's definitely dropped. But since we are drawing, you won't notice a single quality drop. It's gonna be the same exact shit. Eating pasta? Yeah. Pasta for dinner. Yeah, someone in the department's definitely doing like a massive download or some shit. I'm not sure. It's too specific, man. What do you guys had for dinner or lunch, by the way? Chat. You guys got anything special, or you guys just ate the usual meal? Oh my god. Yeah, fruits. Shit, bruh. Fruits. You mentioned fruits now. I kind of want some strawberry and apple. Oh, I love them apples. It's ice cream. Durian ice cream. Oh shit! One of the best. I love me some durian. Risotto and Wellington beef. Ooh! Oh my god. That sounds good. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, you guys are having some variety of fucking meal. I like you how you would just like ice cream. Instead of like a proper meal is ice cream. Hell yeah. Dude, what the fuck? Everyone been having their own ice cream recently. I haven't had ice cream for a while. Probably should get some. Hmm. Is this Lord of the Ring? Oh my god. Lo-fi Lord of the Ring, holy shit. Let's go. Hold up. I'm replying message. As long thing you put into your mouth, it's a meal. Well, just don't eat ice cream 3 times a day, okay? I know it's good, but it's a health concern. Had cheesecake as dessert, so today is a good day already. Oh my god. Oh god. Well, you mentioned cheesecake. Ah, fuck. Ba 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 ba. I just got my salary yesterday, dude. If you guys mentioned cheesecake, my hands gotta move by itself. All right, to order some stuff.
Oh my god, guys!
Oh!
My water disappeared!
Anonymous with a gifted sub to Yua? Holy shit, bruh. Thank you. and stuff. Rice chicken for life. You are very creamy. Mm-hmm. Very creamy indeed. The water disappear. Every time I hear that, every time I see that alert, I imagine Gara saying the same shit. Let me just finish this pasta real quick. Almost done. Damn, this beef is so good. Mmm, that shit's good. Mm. Oh, okay. Holy shit, so good. Chad, I got a good question. If you can only eat one type of food or anything edible for the rest of your life, starting now, what would it be? Can be anything, but it can only be one thing. I want you to think very carefully. Only one. I'm pretty sure everyone have their own favorite food or beverage, but you can also get bored of it. Because I also have a good interesting answer for this. Why shut up? I think I have an idea what you're about to say as your answer. Shit, Song of Storm. Oh my god. Bum bum ba-da-dum. 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 Do 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 do. Oh my god. God, the pasta is so greasy. Eh. Mm-mm. 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 Ba-da-da, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Let me go over the skin color. Thank you very much. Beep, beep, beep. Da, 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 ba, da, ba, da. Ba, ba, da, ba, da, ba. Okay, I need some water. Hold up. My throat. Choking on this nuts. Aku terakhir kalinya dalam saja bersama asmara dan aku pun berharap. I'm back. Need water? Put your head under the water. It quench the thirst, they say. I think you mistaken drink water and drowning. This looks nice. Thank you. It's actually my OC, Katie. Ba, 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 ba. Which part? Okay, good one, man. I was actually planning to draw rain in the same drawing here, but I think this is a better approach. This is like she's wearing this outfit for a special occasion type of deal. That was the scenarios in my head. Like I'm only wearing this because it's your birthday or some shit. Oh, yeah. Mhm. 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 Ba-da-ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum. Boom, boom, ba-da-bum, bum. Oops. Mm, mm. Sorry. Eh. The greasiness still stuck in there. Is there no way to use a non-anti-aliased brush to not have to draw in the fill marks? Um, I'm pretty sure there is like a custom brush or like a specific brush that other people specifically design the way that like that, but I I don't think I have. I just kind of like deal with it. But I kind of get what you mean though. But also hello. What's up? How you doing? Puzzle. But yeah. Is Pokemon in Gold and Silver? It is, yes. Oh damn, someone have like a full album called Video Game Lo-Fi Pokemon. And this is one of the songs. Scope Studio use Adobe Brush Engine? No. It has its own thing and it has its own like community workshop place. It's basically like Steam Workshop, but like brushes and patterns and everything. So I don't know, but I think you can find those stuff over there. There's like crazy amount of them. I'm pretty sure you can find something that you know works with you stuff. But yeah, man, but yeah. You also use CSP or you use Photoshop? I'm assuming you use Photoshop since you also mentioned the Adobe brush engine. As Photoshop, yeah, it was a good call to switch. Oh, were you from which software did you switch? Paint Tool Sai at first, and then PTS. What is PTS? Oh, Photoshop. Huh? What is PTS? Actually, I have no idea. Oh, PTS 2? Wait, there's there's Sai 2? What the fuck? Oh, I didn't know. What the heck? Oh, it's still in development ish. Still in technical preview. Interesting. AZ. I use Sai as well. It's one of my first software. I started with Photoshop like almost everyone. And then I tried Gim or Gim, whatever the fuck you call that one. I don't like it at all. And then I tried what else? I tried Psy, and then forgot the other one, what it's called, the name. And then I settled with CSP. Back then, this software was called Comic Studio Paint before they changed it to Clip Studio Paint. Back then, I think they were trying to go for specifically manga artists, but then they just rebrand themselves to Clip. Manga, yeah, manga. Sorry, did I say comic? Yeah, manga. Manga something. It's like they're really targeting the manga artist audience. They decided to rebrand so it looks a little bit more diverse. Hmm. Anyway, I'm gonna watch Breaking Bad with the homies. Good luck with the drawing big titty bunny lady. I'll check back later, baby. Alright, dude. Appreciate it. Have fun with the Breaking Bad watch party thingy. Thank you. She's not a bunny, but yeah, I got the idea. I understand the idea. Have a good one. Boom, boop, boop. Da, 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 da. Hmm. I wonder if the design leaning towards bunny just because of this, or is it because of the color? Beak. Indeed. Species bunny on the right. Yeah. Just realized. But it kind of makes me think. Hmm. I mean, the idea of her being a shapeshifter is really, really. Oh my god, my brain. It's gonna make me have to go ham on it. Because the thing is that when you apply a shapeshifter in most story or in most plot line, they always have limitation, right? Hmm. Okay, I'm not liking the shape here. Um, okay, that's a lot better. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Hmm. Like it would ruin the character design if I can, let's say, because since she can shapeshift, she can just change her body parts willingly. Hmm. What kind of counter weakness that I can put on her? Maybe a limited amount of time, kind of shape shifting. I think that kind of makes sense. She can only get outside of her default looks for a few moments. I think that makes sense. RPG mindset. So this one is a slime. That is a secret. My idea is in the future I want to make like some kind of a mini comics, like a 4 coma style. And like I would draw like a 4 or 5 pages, like here and there, revolving around my OC, Leo, Rhea, Rain, and Katie, and like slowly make like create like a world, like a multiverse of the trap of the red or some shit like that. I don't know. And those comics will be like basically develop the characters. It's just like one way, a fun way to develop a character. But yeah, I get the idea. Like, since usually slime girl is the one that can shapeshift and everything, right? My initial idea was like she's more of like an alien, but I think that's a little bit too absurd. But alien is just so easy to implement because alien does not exist. Like, alien is an alien. It alienated. So you can make your own rule, type of thing, you know. But then I remember again, Rhea is a cat girl. Leo is a demon cat from hell. And Rain is a vampire. Like, my whole fucking character is already some fucking RPGs, fiction shit. So I'll just go crazy with Katie as well. I don't have to stick with the rules. Venti first? Okay, what? Shapeshifter, okay. Shapeshifter, alien, madness. Makes sense. Yeah, that was the idea, but I don't think that's gonna be the case anymore. Because every time I think about that, my brain just reminds me of Saya no Uta. I was like, no, 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 nothing like that. Oh my god, please. I was like, oh my god, please don't remind me of that again. She's just shapeshifter, period. No, nothing. Gotta take it easy with the wild ideas. I'm sorry. Yeah, she's just some wholesome stuff. No worry. There's no psychological horror going on. Don't worry. If you could have a real life superpower, what would you pick? No idea. I'm gonna be honest. Like, most superpower are kind of boring, man. The superhero superpower. Like, oh, you can fly. Wow, okay. And then what? Right? I don't know. Like, some would say reading other people's mind, but I feel like that's gonna fuck your psychological in the long process. It's gonna go turn you crazy and being super paranoid. That's also fucking sucks. Uh, what other superpower out there? Being super awesome. Oh shit. Easy clap. I don't know. I never thought of it, to be honest. You'd pick being the girliest man alive. Okay, what? That's not a superpower, excuse me? Hmm. I don't know. What do I think about it? I guess being super strong is good. Or being super smart. Something like that. I don't know, man. It's kind of boring answer, gonna be honest, but pretty sure that's gonna comes in handy in a lot of ways, in many occasions. Oh shit. Oh, I gotta move to my new apartment. I just bring everything in one go with my one hand. Like boom, damn. Easy. Right? That's very, very useful. Shapeshifting, duh, you can fly, you can technically be invisible, you can turn to metal. I don't think that's how it works. You gotta remember, shapeshifting also have limitation. Come on, man. You cannot just shapeshifting willy-dillingly. That's imbalance. You're gonna get nerfed by the devs. Bruh. Like, for example, fucking Mr. Fantastic from Fantastic Four's technically shapeshifting, even though it's like rubber band basically, but you know, rubber band can be, can be anything. That's technically a fucking thingy thing. I could imagine like X-Men have Rogue, and she is Logan or Wolverine stepdaughter, and she is arguably one of the strongest character in the comic, in the X-Men universe. She basically can absorb anyone's energy or her own energy, which is sounds boring, but she literally can make you on a critical, like almost dying by just touching you, and by that she can literally heal herself. I don't know, that's just super fucking strong. And even then she also have like a weakness, which is if she's doing it for too much or too long, she's gonna kill herself as well in the process. So balancing, you gotta be fucking, you know. She could have had a relationship because of that. Actually, in the comics, she do have a really hard time finding a boyfriend. I remember. Like, there's this one volume. I think it's not like the main storyline. It's like more of like a side story thingy, where she complained to Logan that she almost killed her boyfriend. But yeah, that's the writer thought of it. Logan, I almost killed him. Oh my god. But I think over time she like as she grew up she managed to control her power almost completely. So she can just do she cannot lose control of it. Mm. Oh shit, Undertale. Ba, 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 ba. X-Men is the only Western comic I read long ago. Hell yeah. Sounds fun having to not lose control in bedtime. Oh lord. Even that scene is implemented in the movie. It is such a iconic scene where she sleep besides Logan after a big fight. Uh Wait, no, not besides Logan. So Logan almost dead after a big fight. So he sleep for like a long time, right? And then at late night, Rogue came over to his bed and trying to like check his temperature and everything. And Logan like have a nightmare, and he's like wake up and then accidentally stab her in the stomach. It's like she's fucking getting stabbed with the fucking claw thingy, the fucking Wolverine claw. It's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, Rogue, are you okay? And then Rogue just like literally touch his head and then just like absorb his energy and to heal herself. And she didn't mean to do that, but she was like still a teenager, so she was like panicking trying to do that, and almost killed Wolverine in the process. Im- Imagine almost accidentally killed one of the most OP character in the comic. That's Rogue. Oh my god! When I saw that scene for the first time, it's such a fucking cool scene. It really the movie really makes Rogue like one of the scariest character from that on. Just throughout the fucking Hollywood movie X-Men series, they really make Wolverines like unkillable, right? As a protagonist, a lot of people is like, Logan's not gonna die. There's no way he's gonna lose again, this and that. And I guess that's the reason why they showed that scene, just to show that Logan can still die. So you gotta be extra careful and shit. Ah, good time. I missed that movie. Hugh Jackman. Too bad he's done with Wolverine. Such a fucking fitting character for Logan. I don't think anyone can replace him as Wolverine. It really is hard to replace Logan, Hugh Jackman. Dude really know how to fucking scream and rage like a Wolverine. So fucking cool. I'm such a fanboy for Hugh Jackman, honestly. Is odd though, I know. I know. Is a super nice guy as well, apparently. He's just a cool guy. It's Mr. Cool Guy. Mr. Worldwide. Bing, bing, bum, bum, bum. Ooh, hey, yeah, uh-huh. Boo-doo, 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 boo-doo. What time is this? Oh shit. It's almost 11. Let's play some games after this, yeah? Oops. Do, 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 do. Hmm. Do, do, do. Okay, I forgot to fix the eyelash. Hey, listen. Messi. Uh. Okay, I think that's fine. I think shadow and lighting. Was that day one releases? 8 minutes? Damn, okay, save it up a little bit. I'm almost done here. So when is the art stream where you only draw legs or hands? um uh ano yeah. Yeah. Next question.
Feet and Fingers Fun Day, sponsored by Hidetaka Miyazaki's Smile.
The fuck up, dude. I'm sorry. Okay, this song's way too chill. Oh my god, everything's a sleep song. Hold up. I'm getting too chill. Getting too relaxing. Blah blah blah. Mhm. Alright. It's time for shuffle. Let's see what random song from my 1,500 song playlist will we get today? Arcane soundtrack. Okay. At least it's a good song. Hey, what's up, Nell? How you doing? Raddtrap, fuck. Fuck you. Hello. Say, what do you see? Welcome to the playground. Follow me. Tell me your nightmares and fantasy. Take me through the ways and underneath. What game will you play for Spoopy Saturday later, sir? You will see. You will see. But I got a feeling some of you guys probably already seen the game played by other people. It's not a very popular horror game, but it's one of those horror game that's just, you know, it's a very fucky horror game. It's the weird, fucked up type. I don't know, that's the best way I can explain it without really spoiling what it is. It's fucking okay. God damn it! What? This is the always the conclusion of raddtrap's chat conversation. Fucky? Kinky? God damn it, guys. I'll give you guys a hint. There's actually two of them, but one of them is have something to do with fish. That's all I'm gonna say. If you know, you know. Welcome to the playground. Come to play. Subnautica, no. It's a little pleasure of life, Red. The Arcana Johor variant. Oh my goodness. God damn it! Bum 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 bum. Churn away. If you could get me a drink of water, 'cause my lips are chapped and faded. My beginning. Oh, Anne Marie. All my springs and bury me in all my favorite colors. My sisters and my brothers still will not kiss you, 'cause Just the hardest part of this is leaving you. Dun, 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 dun. Turn away. Just to see. And now my there's a barrier on my body, on my agony. Do you ever feel like wanting to eat some sweet corns, like a bowl of them? Oh boy. Dude, I fucking love sweet corns. It's so good. And I just hope you know. And if you stay, goodbye today. And I want you to be true. Speaking of MCR, I've been listening to Black Parade. I can't stop crying. Such a good album, dude. Just the hardest part of this is leaving you. Hey, so sick. Such a good fucking song. Art Paper? A pepper. Oh my. Since when did I add this? My playlist. Bonjour, madame. Would you care for a night out this weekend? By the park. On a late evening. Oui, oui. S'il vous plaît. Guess at some point I listened to some smooth jazz. Oof. Oui, oui. Excusez-elle. Alright, next. Nah. Oh, this song is a gem. Wait, 85? The fuck? Falling from the turn my hands up. Ah! In a cloud so long. Down into the depths in a fading night. My breath for another. Can't hold my breath for the. This could be a dream. You can try Keith Jarrett. Usually Jess with a vibe like that earlier feels melancholy but relaxing. Ooh. Keith Jarrett. Right. Let me note it down for now. Feel it all along. Oh. I feel it falling from the ground. I'll hold my breath for another. Can't hold my breath for a. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 bum, bum, boom, boom. Oh! Mirai Xavier, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. How you doing? This could be a dream. All gone. It's falling from the ground. And so far. I hold my breath from another. Can't hold my breath for a. I think I'm suffering from Saints Row withdrawal again. Rewatched the showcase like 5 times, still looking for new content. Jesus Christ. You'll get better if you change your name from Saints to something else, exactly. Ooh, Deadmau5. To Japan. Strangers. Where if I begin? Out of the fireplace, I'll shine a light. I am the light of faith. Dressed by a light way. You be flow. Oh no. Nothing's in my way. All of this 3D play. Over the 3D play. Over the 3D play. By a light way. Oh yeah, I forgot to color her mouth. Bam, bam. Bum, 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 bum. Bam, bam, bam. Is that on the fucking shit, dude? There's a new Elden Ring glitch that lets you put envoy bubbles on the fire shield. What is the envoy bubbles? That looks weird. Da-da-da-da. SpongeBob minigun. Take me there. I think we're good. I think we're good. Mieri, thank you for a follow. Welcome to the stream. Oh, the drop. This is the best part. The song. Ready play. Bum, bum, bum. Da, 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 da. Mhm. 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 Ah, 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 ah. Ba-da-da-da. Mm. Ah, the font is not here. I guess I have to install it again manually. Mm.
Just cuss rad brain once.
Oh my god, I fucking... The fun... I need to start using fun though, instead of writing it. So it's a lot more cleaner. Mm. Oh! Oh, fuck. Such a throwback. What's the word? When you get a new higher role at work. I'm not using this because of you, Baka. Oh, promotion. Thank you. Boop 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 boop. Should be a little bit smaller. God, this would be easier if I have the fucking fun. Ah! Is this too small? I think it's a little bit too small, but it's whatever. I'm gonna fix it later, I guess. Would have fun. Just gonna place it here before I forgot. Responsibility increment. Sorry, Chad, don't get too excited. She already got a girlfriend. Sorry. I'm sorry, Chad. She's taken. And we're done.